Here are some sounds of the jungle here in current state.
I'm really excited to bring you the upcoming interview with a very special guest. You'll hear him discussing all the great and courageous work that he's currently engaged in. And if you feel inspired to help him continue these efforts, please consider making a donation earmarked for his projects. Or feel free to give a general donation that will support the wider movement in Myanmar. Our ongoing support is so helpful and appreciated by the Burmese people during these dark days. Simply go to insightmyanmar.org/donation to contribute today. Or stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear more options. Now, let's hear from that guest himself.
Those are sounds of insects, small bird, and a stream in the back.
This is David Eubank, and I'm going to be reading Those Brilliant Eyes, which I wrote on a mission in Burma, where I am at right now. Those brilliant eyes, they shine so bright, while smiling or in a gunfight. They show the pain of lost terrain they fought so desperately for. A land they owned for years unknown was stripped and ripped from their hands. And yet those eyes still see the light of freedom yet untold. They fight for lives of gone and yet to come. Those brilliant eyes reveal the wisdom earned from years in battle, though his heart was never turned. Those eyes shine bright and full of light, with a slight glimpse of charm still known. Will hold his grandchild just for a while and tell him stories of old. And when they ask why he doesn't have a second hand to hold, those eyes will show a love untold and a price he had to pay to hold his child and tell him, "Oh, how I love you so."
Okay, I'm very pleased today to be speaking with Doh Say. Doh Say, welcome to joining us on Inside Myanmar podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so can you tell me where we're talking to you from? Where are you located now?
In the Papua district, in northern Karen State.
Yes, and I should say, please don't answer any question that exposes you to any risk. So, if you are not able to answer a question in detail, that's fine. Just only answer as far as you're safe.
Okay.
So, can you tell me a bit, as far as you're comfortable and as it's safe? Can you tell me a bit about the camp that you're located and what's happening there?
Camp here, we are about in March. There was an airstrike on the place called Debuno. So our camp is not so far from Debuno, like 2 hours walking. So we are not to the north from Debuno.
Right. And can you tell us a bit about your camp? What are you doing at the camp? What are the activities there?
Here we train many the ethnic people from different groups. Karen, Kachin, Shan, Lahu, Po. So we call them they want to be able to do something for their country, for their organizations. So every year from this training camp, so many the different ethnic armed groups and their team members here to be trained. So first we tell them about God and love, because this is very important for all of us. This is what the Free Burma Ranger believe. Because without God, without love, we get lost. We may be able to do many things, but without love, there are many problems. Just like now what is happening in Burma. Many now leaders in Burma, now they are very skillful, but because of the problem we are facing, because they don't have love for their people. So when the young people, they come here, so we tell them to love God and love each other and to forgive each other. So we told them we are comprised of soul and body. So we need to also strengthen their soul, and at the same time also make their body strong, so they can do they can do things when they go back to their respective area.
Right. So is it mainly Christian groups and Christian participants that are coming that you're training?
Oh, no, man. Most of them are non-believers. So, yeah, there are as well as some are also Christians. So they are non-believers. But we told them it's okay. Because once that you have love, it's okay. We don't say that we welcome to everyone here, every religions, every races.
Right. And can you share a bit about what kind of training you give? You mentioned the spiritual lessons that you like to share, but what about the physical lessons and the actual training that the participants will learn with you?
Yeah, so the skill we provide them, so there are many. So mostly the survivor skill and so confidence skill that will confidence them. For instance, here, when the beginning they arrive, so we ask them to carry loads, like round trip, maybe 3 hours, before even like 2 days. Now, because we have some of the places, the road aspects, so is coming a little bit closer to carry supplies from the little shop to our camp. But this one is at the beginning, so they come. They start with to make their body become strong, and then later after the first week, they will start learning, especially those who cannot swim. So we teach them how to swim, like in the beginning, like 2 weeks constantly every day. And also how to do rope bridge, how to climb, rope climbing, rappelling, poncho rope. And later, second week, third week, so we teach them about how to do recording, video with digital camera, and interview. So how to do the effective interview and reporting very basics, and we call salute, very basics and easy to remember. And also basic medical, first aid, and GPS, land navigation, and leadership. Skills like that.
Well, that sounds incredible. How long are these courses?
Yeah, altogether, we 3 months here when they arrive. So 2 weeks before the training started. So we already asked them to carry things. And so in 2 weeks, so when ready, we started. So the training time is at 2.5 weeks. So after that, we went on the practical mission. So wherever there's a need. So in places we hear, okay, now this place, that place is under attack by the Burma Army. So we go to that place with all these newly graduated team members, and so on the front line we leave them and then teach them how to do things. So how to provide security for yourself, for the people, and how to provide counseling. So especially the good life club, because many people are living in fear. But when you are there, we are organizing the program called Good Life Club. This is mainly for the kids program, but it's also apply for anyone, parents who come. So maybe it depends on what time, how much time we have. Sometimes we may have in that place, in their hideouts, the whole day, so we do 1 day program. So sometimes we may have only half day because they have to go back or they come from many different hideouts. So, and that programs, I look at that because all the time they are living in fear, afraid of Burma Army attacking, worry about this and that. But during the program, they really, you look at everyone, kids, not only kids, the parents around, leaders around there, all laughing. That moment, they forget all their problems. So that means the program there, many dramas, spiritual drama, healthcare drama. So educate them now how to keep their environment clean, how to take care of their body. So like this. And sound games, and we call Junior Ranger. So teaching like some of the middle school, high school students, all the things that the ranger learned from the training here, they were transformed to some of the skill to the middle school, high school students. So that is all together will be 4 months, but depends on the situation. If the situation say the Burma Army launching major offenses in many places, so we say that okay, now we say we cannot go back. We say stay with all these villagers. So we need to do something for them. But usually if there's nothing happens, so after one trip, maybe 3 weeks trip, then they can go back to all their mother organization.
So you're not just teaching them practical skills, which are valuable enough, but you're also creating this sense of community among incredible diversity of the different ethnics that are coming, the different religions that are coming. You're creating this sense of togetherness, of community, of interconnectedness, and you're also helping them to, in the face of this kind of terror they're facing from the Burma Army, to have some inner value and inner strength in going through life with what they're facing. So that all sounds really great. How long have these trainings been going on?
Training is like the first year beginner is 3 months. And then the next year they can come back, and we call it advanced. So they can learn more about more things and more technique from all the areas. For instance, the first year they are learning about security, because when they are on the mission, during the mission in the front line, they have to provide security for themselves, for the team members, if there's a villagers around them, and for the villagers. So when they come back second year, they will learn more about the security. So the same thing, if in the beginning they were learning land navigation, but when they come back, they will learn more about all the how to draw better maps and how to do better land navigation, something like that.
Right. And since when have these courses started? How many years have they been going on?
Oh, they started in 2000. And in 2000, so far I remember.
So about 20 years, more than 20 years.
Yes.
Right. And you're a trainer on these courses. So how did you come to be a trainer? How did you come to learn these skills and then teach these skills yourself?
Well, for myself, I learned from Tawaba, David.
Mm-hmm.
So many instructors also, they learn from him. So in the beginning, only a few instructors. So we all learn from him. And as he teaching, I mainly help interpret. So at the same time, though, I learn. So before he organizes a small group training for the instructors, and then later, so all these few instructors can help him teach. This in the beginning, we studied like that in 2000.
Right. So you've learned from David Eubank of the Free Burma Rangers you're referring to. Can you tell us a bit about where you met him and how your relationship goes back with David?
I met him in '97.
Oh,
the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So that time I was not Free Burma Ranger yet. I was working with another political group. So that time I met him. So since every year I have more contact with him, and later I go with him on a mission like once a year. So I began to know him better, and so also as I go with him on the trip, I learn many good things from him. Especially he increased my spiritual strength a lot. Before I was kind of I call myself a traditional Christian. I was Christian. My parents were Christian, but this all because my parents were Christian. And I thought I'm Christian. So when we were young, we went to Sunday school. So our teachers said, "Okay, now you are that age. You are 12. You are 15. You should be baptized." So we just did. But this only we did. But I don't really know God and Jesus very well, and until for many years. So when I first time met in '97, and that time, so we started working. He used to drive to the refugee camps for many times. So I was with him as he driving. So he was telling about Jesus, and he's telling about his faith, things like that. And also, plus, he bringing many also his friends who also the same thing, sharing many good, very strong faith. So then Doh Say, who are you? You are nothing, and you have only a little bit education, and you have no skill, that skill, even you don't have money, this and that. But why you don't prioritize God? But look at all those people; they are very educated, very smart. They all graduated and have money, have skill, this and that. But they stay every time, even small thing they do, they stay prioritize God. So that means whatever do, number one is they say, God, thank you, God, please be with us, like that. And then I slowly increasing my spiritual strength through David Eubank and many his friends he brought with him to me.
That's really interesting. So in what ways would you describe that your spiritual faith and your Christian practice has been strengthened through your relationship with David?
Just like the many places we say we believe in God, but at the same time, we are afraid to do this even for myself. But what God asks us to do is we have to do. Sometimes maybe dangerous, sometimes maybe difficult, sometimes maybe easy. But our human nature is that when easy, almost everybody can do. But when difficult things or very dangerous things, and then how nobody want to do. So I was after meeting him for many years. So many trips. Sometimes I have to go alone to Karenni, or sometimes even with the big group. But I was still afraid. So when I'm afraid, so I remember God because so He taught us for many years. When you're afraid, you pray to God, you ask love, and then go the power of love to wherever you want to go. And so this I practice in what He taught me. And so in many years, many trips, I did like this. So I managed to go even sometimes alone, especially I'm alone. I have to go on mission, one person only. very dangerous, very lonely, and very tough on the mountainous. My backpack is so sometimes I don't want to go. Because mainly I was afraid. Also at that time, my fitness is not so good. So to carry all these supplies, me for the teachers, for the orphans to that area. But I pray and I go and I managed to climb all these big mountains and cross through all these difficulties or dangerous or landmines. So these are how I measure my spiritual. And also many places, even easy, but because now I don't want to leave my families, or because of rainy, or now muddy, there's many leeches. So many like I don't want to go, but again, so I said, God, now please help me. So then I can start forgetting all these problems, and I just go.
That's great. Can you give me one example of a mission that you took that was difficult and that was dangerous, and how your faith in that specific mission, how that helped you get through what was a very difficult and dangerous operation through your faith and your belief?
There are many, in many like 20 years, so I can't remember, but maybe I was trying to say some of the trips I remember. So as the group, one I remember in 2004, I think there's a tsunami happened that year. So we were in the northern Karen state and southern Karen. So we were with a big group, like how many Free Burma Ranger members there. We hear, because that time Burma Army launches major offensives against all those areas with the 3 major columns. So many villages, 5 villages from northern Karen state and 5 villages from southern Karen. So they all fled to the same spot. So we hear that, we went. So we went there, we know the Burma is very close. So we are afraid. So I don't know, some people. And plus, also the reason, one of the reasons I worry more is sometimes also we don't know where is the landmines. Not only talk about, facing with the Burma Army, but also you have to worry about landmines laying by the Karen or Kareni, because I know I have many experiences. Some of the Karen or Kareni step on their own landmine. And that makes me very worried. So, and also because that time, like I told you, I was not so fit. So I always slow and I leave behind. And then many team members, they already go ahead. So when I'm leave behind, so that means I'm very slow. So in some junction, which way should I go, left or right or straight? Then I start worrying, because if I took the wrong way, then maybe these are leading me to the Burma Army, or maybe leading to where the Karen laying landmines. For things like that, so very angry, very worried, very afraid. And nighttime, they're sometimes so very close, so cannot sleep very well, so because I'm afraid. But so I just mainly I pray. Now I'm here, and then like one night I was looking around, because before night at the daytime many villagers start arriving. We already receiving many that time 7 villages. So, and then when we arrived there, more villagers coming. So I look at all their faces. I look at their eyes, full of fears, and then full of stuff in a basket in their bag, and in both hands are holding their son, daughter, and babies, and stay in the mother chest. They carry one baby. We look at the men; they're carrying all full of supplies for their family, and look at their faces. I look at this and oh no, this is something I don't feel like good. And then I was looking around. So when they sleep, so because of the winter, so very cold in northern Karen state. And so I look around about midnight. So many people that do not have enough blanket, because when they leave, they don't manage to bring everything. They only brought with them all the essential things, like maybe rice or machete and maybe one blanket for the whole family. But that area is also many dry firewood. But people are afraid of making fire because if you make fire, you come around me from a long distance, they can see the flame there, so they can share or they can come. So for that reason, they don't make fire even very cold. So they just take the cold the whole night. And so I would look at all go from family to family because they are sleeping on the ground, so on the leaves. So I go around and I check them. So I start coming out. Oh, I was still working with a political group. I was fighting against the Burma Army politically. Also here, many different armed groups are fighting against with them militarily, and also international community doing the, diplomatic and also sanction, embargo, etc. So, but even though all these things are happening, Burma is still strong and can still manage to come to all these mountainous area and give problems to all these innocent villages. So I feel like very helpless. So and then first time I went up the small hill on the top of small hill. Then I thought, God, please touches the hearts of the Burma Army so that they can go back and then leave all the villages alone. Then I came back. Yeah. So I came down from that was 2004. So the first time I prayed for my enemy.
That was the first time you prayed for your enemy. And what happened after your prayer?
So then later we have to leave. So in other places, because during when the villagers have to run away from the enemies, so many unnecessary problems is happening. So in one village I remember, and the mountain they have to climb very, very high. And so one night we are stay with them, so they feel very good. And in the morning we have to leave. So that's another spot. So we told them we have to go because there's also another group over there. We have to go and check on them. But many villagers, especially like 80 years old grandmother, begging us, please don't leave. She was telling that last night you were staying with us. We feel very, very warm. I mean, very safe. So please don't keep staying with us. You don't need to worry about food. You will eat the food we will eat. So we have provided food. They told us like that. She told us like that. So, but we told them, no, sorry, we still have to go to another place. And then some of the young men said, okay, so if you cannot stay with us, what about you leave some soldiers with us? I told them we do not have soldiers because some Canadian security soldier with us. So that we don't have. So then they said, what about extra weapons? Give it to us. Then we told them, sorry, we don't have extra weapons. Even Canada do not have the extra weapons. So it's difficult, very difficult to make decision. But we said sorry, so we had to go, and then we prayed with them, and then we left for another IDP hideouts. So since I look at up to now, the situation is improving me. So after that, the Burma Army go back to their battalions, regiments, their headquarters, and then a few weeks later, villagers can return to their villages. So that was 2004. So I was just in Karenni and across northern Karen state last summer. So that in January. So everything in every villagers in their villages. So say that we pray for them. So I did. That's my view. I pray, and then I believe also many people pray so that villagers can, aside from the present situation now.
I see. So this is an example of the power of prayer, and you're talking about the first time that you actually prayed for your enemies, and you prayed for your enemies not to cause harm, and that you also mentioned that part of your faith is a faith and a belief in love and sharing the power of love and filling yourself with love and sharing that with those in the community. And yet you're living in a region where the Burmese military is causing unspeakable, terrible evil and harm among all the peoples and communities that you're living with. And so how has the challenge been for you to maintain that faith, maintain that belief in love, that belief in prayer and forgiveness, in spite of the evils that you're directly facing and encountering?
For me, I just need to pray for every day. Also, I ask my leader, my friends, my family to pray for, even including my son. I ask them to pray for me because we can also, now we are very good. Maybe in 5 minutes, we can also very bad. So that is, I now I start afraid more than afraid of Burma Army. Burma Army, you can fight, but there's something that you don't know because it comes very secretly or without even realizing you already made big mistake. So this big enemy freedom can come to you. So this maintain like when we do the physical fitness. So you have to do like every day. So the same also to maintain all the spiritual strength, to get more love, to get more faith in God. You have to do every day, not 2 times a day, not 3 times a day. So the first thing I get up, I read my Bible and pray, and then I just go do something. And then before I go to bed, I pray. So the same time also listen some of the, auspicious preachers from the internet, and also hearing from also other people sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing there are all the problems people are suffering on the ground, that also increase my sympathy and my understanding. Because before, so I thought I have nothing, and I thought, I'm very, God do not love me, this and that. But when on the ground you see many people are suffering, and then I really, I realize I need to be humble myself. I need to be very thankful that God gave me many things, and also they are suffering more than I have. They are even among all these suffering, they are still give you big smiling. When they arrive in their hideouts or their villages, they're very happy. Same time also, man, you are pretend you are walking alone. Because I'm walking alone, like I told you before, many times to Krani. So sometimes very afraid, sometimes very lonely. But suddenly, even I see one villager turn up. Oh, she very encouraged. That person, even I don't know him. So sometimes you see only your friend, one of your team member or your friend, suddenly, I feel very good. So the same thing also when they are very afraid, villagers afraid when we arrive, so they are very, very happy. So, and then I see, okay, now they are encouraged me and us to come to all these difficult or dangerous places. Because that moment you don't think about all the danger or the dangers, because when you see, they are smiling, they are happy because you are present there. Yeah, this is how I increase also my spiritual strength, but I still need to do a lot.
So you mentioned before that when you encounter people that are suffering and that are really suffering, it opens you up to sympathy and to love for them. And I'm curious that is definitely one route and one road it can open you up to. It can also, seeing the suffering of people can also open you up to anger and to hatred for the cause of that suffering. So how are you able to take in that suffering and see the harm that they're being caused and respond with greater sympathy rather than the response of anger or hatred for what is causing that suffering to them?
Yes, when I was not strong spiritually, I was many times afraid. Right away, I want to pick up a gun and go shoot all the army. Even on the last in what happened in Rangoon, I just saw. When innocent people in Rangoon, Manila or big city like when I see these people got killed, I still want to do. But I just remember God, what God wants me to do. Because if I just angry from here, then I destroy myself first. Because I cannot do from here to anything from them, but just angry with them. So I don't want to be angry because when I'm angry, I just limit my all my ability. I will destroy my good heart, and I will destroy at least that day. I will not do my PT, or I will not pray. So like that. So right away, when I was angry, I realized, okay, to say you, I tell myself you need to pray, and I tell my son, my other friends to pray. Then I become okay because I know this. What we need to do, God will show us the way, and those who committed all these terrible things, they will be charged by God. That is how I can also maintain my anger. Otherwise, every day I angry every day because I see all these atrocity every day. Now even currently, many things. Last night, one of my nieces, nephews sent me please help us. Now they said many now Burma Army send more troops to Karenni. Seem like they want to destroy the whole Karenni because about like 2 weeks ago, all the young people, they overran like three Burma Army camps. So now they want to send more troops and do more patrolling and blocking all the roads. So some of the road even linking to from one city to city, they block so the people cannot travel easily. All the supply also cannot send easily. So these are also, when if you don't control yourself very well, and then you become angry easily. But since I hold it, God is first. So also the same thing I teach all the ranger, whoever here come here say, I want to give you a present. This is my present. You cannot see, you cannot feel, but that will help you. Not only this life, but also going to your eternal life. And so the more you use, the more you have. Because usually things you can touch, you can see will not last long. So that is the first, whatever you do, small thing, even you drink a cup of coffee, say, God, thank you, or should I drink this coffee or not? So you say, and then you say, thank you. Secondly, God gave you ear, so that you have to listen to God. So what God is telling you today, what to do, where to go. So third is your eyes. So you look. So you see something good, you learn. You see something not fake, not you try to fix. And your heart for is mean you are learning things here. You have to pay attention. So when you do whatever you do, you are studying in the classroom or outside, or you are doing a mission. You are really to have interest in that mission. So 5 is you have to use your brain when you need to. So I stay with them. This is my kind of my formulas.
Right, that's beautiful. And it sounds like part of that is just recognizing that anger is a toxic emotion, that hatred is something that takes you away from faith and goodness and love, and to try to not fall into that in spite of the hardships and the atrocities that you're facing. And you mentioned how this greater sense of faith and spiritual strength, it came from your relationship with David Eubank and what you've learned from him. You referenced that when you grew up, it was in a more of a traditional, conventional Christian upbringing. So I'm wondering if we could go back to your early years, and if you can describe a bit about where you come from, what your family life was like, what your life in the village was, and learn a little bit about your upbringing in your early years.
Yes, all my parents were Christian. My aunts, uncle, all the cousin, relatives are Christian. So I just grew up. So I was born in a small town. So my parents will send me. They sent me when I was young. Sent me away to stay with my parents or my aunts. So in order to want to give me the better education, because my where I was born in that time education level is very very low. So my parents sent me away. So in order to give me a better education. Since I grew up, so to make it short, so I was, I don't know, maybe middle school student. So one of the I don't know, Sunday school teachers or one of the teachers told me, you have to pray for your enemy. And at that time, even I don't understand very well. I said, no, I cannot pray. He said, how come? He said, because I cannot even pray for myself. How can I pray for my enemy? So the conversation just stopped there since there. Then when there was an ADA happening, so all the school, everything closed down in 1988. And there was, so I came back to my hometown, came back to where I stayed there for 1.5 years. And then like 2001, beginning of January, I thought, because I'm not so good with my parents, so I thought maybe I look at the reason why. So I thought money is the main reason. If I have a lot of money, then I can stay with my parents maybe happily. Because every time I'm not close to my parents, because since I was here, I stay away. I stay with my aunts, uncles. So every time I come back to my village, I saw my parents. And I was shy to talk to them, or when they come to visit me in the city, so I also shy to talk to them. I was hiding them like that. So later I grew up, I started thinking why I was doing my parents like that. Then I thought maybe money the main reason. So if I have money, so maybe I saw this problem. Then I thought maybe I went to in the north, Chen State. That time, Jewish is very, very popular. So I thought I was going to there. But on the middle, I left, before I left my hometown, I wrote a letter and I gave to one of my close friends. I said, give that letter to my parents only after I left the village, because I worry if they receive the letter first before I leave, then they will stop me. So they will not let me go away. Then, so I left. And then but in one small town, we got stopped. Then they said, oh, we cannot keep going because of the Burma Army blocking all the roads. And they were saying that now the situation is not good, a lot of fighting happening, so we cannot go. So we had to truck on the passenger trucks. We had to wait 1 day, 2 days, almost a week. That became very boring. So we just in the place by the big river, Sandu River. So one day, one of my friends told me, okay, you want to go down there. There's a boat going down there, a place called Tita. So Tita means a junction where a small river comes to that big river. Then, okay, so instead of waiting here, I should go there. So I jumped on into the boat and I came down. So since there, my original plan is that I want to go to Chen State in the north to dig jade. But I believe later I reviewed my life that God turned my compass to the north, because when the river is flowing to the south, so I come to the south. So since there, I never managed to go to the jade places. But I ended my life here like this, and then slowly, briefly before in the beginning, I joined with the Ukrainian army, and later I was wounded, and I have the major operation, and I have to take 2 years to cure my wound in the clinic and hospital. And then later I recovered, so one of the leaders said, you should not go back to the army, but you should do more political work. So they sent me to the political foreign affairs for the Ukrainian National Progressive Party, where I worked for 10 years. So altogether, my time with the KMPP and the army for 15 years. So yeah. So up to now, that time I still did not know God. But when I was in the clinic, so every day I was lying on bed. So I was my injury was very big. So I almost cannot do anything, just, lying on bed, eat and sleep, this all. But when I got a short wave radio, so then I can open. Then a pastor, and his name is Uti. He's still alive. He's based in Rangoon. So from Manila, he broadcasted about God. So I started learning a little bit about God through listening to shortwave radio.
Great. So thanks for sharing that. So you come from a Karenni background, and you mentioned the schooling, the political side that you joined in terms of the cause, and you reference also some of the operations that you did. So a number of the listeners to our show, we have a number of foreigners who are outside of Myanmar. We also have a number of Burmese, of Bamar, that are both outside of the country as well as Bamar that listen inside the country. But many of those have never really spent time in the ethnic regions and haven't been in the villages or the regions where you've lived and where you've gone. And we've been seeing in the past few months, especially from these Bamar, that many are coming to be more sympathetic and understanding and sensitive to what the ethnic experience has been for so long, and are, because they're faced with this now, are starting to understand what people in your villages and communities have been dealing with for many generations. And so now you're speaking to that audience, both Bamar that are listening as well as foreigners that are outside of Myanmar. And I wonder if you can share a bit about, to that audience, if there's a way you can describe what is life like there. What is the feeling? What is the what is the community like living under that terror, living under what the Burmese army, the Tatmadaw, is doing, is capable of doing, what they've done, the atrocities that are happening, that have happened. How can you, for someone who's never been to these places and never experienced or felt or seen what you have, how can you transmit and describe what your experience is for those who haven't been there, so that they could better understand what it's like to live in those communities and what it's been like for so many years?
Yes, living in places like that. So even whether in the city or in the jungles. So I more know about the lives in the mountain areas, because I've been to many places in many years. So whenever the Burma Army comes, even they come, they don't arrive the villages. Yes, so they already hear the Burma Army heading to their villages. So all the villagers already start preparing and leaving for fighting, packing, and all their families. So leading to hideout areas. So some of the places are also Burma Army very close to their villages. So they don't need to come. They just from their camp, they're sharing. So all the shares, even my hometown is say under only the big Burma Army camp. Every time they hear gunshot, the Burma Army just from the mountain, they share 60 millimeters. So in our hometown, we had to dig many holes since we were young. I remember that one. So up to now, every houses have the holes, because many Burma shares the land in the villages. So one time, one of my cousins' house was hit, and then one of the house pole got destroyed. So that night, one of my friends was sleeping right on that corner. But that night, for some reason, he moved to another house. So, and then nighttime, there was fighting broke on. So like they hear a gunshot. So whenever they hear gunshot, they don't know, they don't say it's a Karenni soldier or whoever. So they just because their main camps are on the hilltop, so our villages on the border on the mountain. So from the hilltop, they just send many mortars into the village. So something like that. And many people also got killed in study counties when I was young. I still remember one family just killed beside their house by the shells. So now there are many people now in the city. Now they are suffering because they are start doing many atrocities, as you see. So they come here, and then maybe when they leave, they come to this area, or these are like Korean state, Shan state, or the Chin state. So very different from when they live also. So and then every time, even now the places they arrive, say it's not safe, yeah, because Burma Army camps are everywhere. So, and then we say, okay, now you got to be careful tonight. Maybe Burma may come here, or they can also send some the shells. So then they have to move. So they start realizing, oh, now we are also have to move. So maybe all these ethnic people have to do like this for many, many years, more than 70 years. So we just arrived here. So maybe we have to do some of the starting complaining. Oh, we cannot do. Oh, difficult. Also rainy. Oh, mosquito. Oh, not enough food. And then they start. I don't know, but yeah, a few of them. So they really become understand how the different ethnic people are suffering under the successive military regime for many years. And so for me, every time when they see here, last time we were in the southern Karen state. So we were there, we see many CDM members. There are many, most of them very young, like between 20 and 30. So, and they are really, really, come to here in order to do something, in order to overcome to topple the Burma Army dictatorship. And when I look at them, I can know some of them, they are very innocent. And before, I don't know if I met them, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, I may not have that feeling, because that time I still have the hatred against all the Burmese, because all I know is that the Burmese are very, very bad. They are doing all the bad things to all the different ethnic groups here and there. But when I began to know Jesus better, so Jesus does he say you should love this one and hate that one? All he say is that love your neighbor. Then I also at the same time also remember one verses as if you don't forgive them, I will not forgive you. Then since then, so I start releasing all the people I tied up in my house, including Burmans or Chinese, and anti against the Chinese, because now they are doing many bad things in our country. And so in India, so now I say I'm releasing all of this. So then I will look at most of the Burma. We saw them like one group, one about or almost 200, and we went down there. We gave them about like 3 days training, how to like basic training, like first aid trainings. So that is only one sport. There's other many sports. So in most of them Burmese, and so we share them. We don't need share them. They just tell us, oh, now we understand now how the ethnic suffering for many years. So
that's very powerful what you just said. And this is something that we're hearing much more of, is that many Bamar, especially the younger generation, are for the first time understanding the privilege that they had in the system, the ways that the ethnics were discriminated against and biased in ways that they were not, and in ways that they did not have to face these things. And many Bamar have been apologizing publicly and privately for not doing more, not understanding, and not recognizing the kind of suffering that their Burmese army was inflicting on these ethnic regions. And you mentioned that, 20 years ago, before you found religion, that the hatred that you had for the Burmese army was absorbed into all of the Bamar people, that it was just a hatred that you had for the whole race based on how the army was behaving. And through religion, you were able to work slowly at letting go of the toxicity of that hatred and move towards love as far as was possible. But what I'm wondering now is that you've actually been training young Bamar activists. And as you mentioned, some of those have said to you that they're sorry, that they didn't realize the suffering that their army was inflicting on you. And so you're getting this apology, you're getting this recognition, something that I imagine you must have never heard in your life. So how has it felt for you to hear from these young Burmese these apologies and this recognition of what you've been going through and what your people have been going through for so many years?
I just I became falling in love with them, because even this morning, one of my friends who is video cameraman, show me the video footages he took. And I look at all their faces very innocent. They are very lovely because they they let everything. They are from Rangoon. They can just stay in their home. They don't need to worry. But when they come here, the first thing everything is very, even food situation, living situation, everything is very, very, very bad. But they stay happy, sing songs, and all enjoying all the skill we are giving them. So that moment, I don't have any lines or any boundaries. So all I know is that I just like them all. And when sometimes I was telling my friends I miss them, and that is, I think, the power of their expression, their sincere expression, and also we've come to know better. So when we leave, because we only a short time, so one group like 3 days, and one group maybe like 3 weeks. So, and then now here another group. So, but most of the groups are here Koreans. But the first group, the big group we met, and down there are many Burmans. They're a big group, and another big group, also about 200. And there's also a mixture of the Burmans and Kachin, Lahu, Palau, Karenni. So, yeah, this is how I feel. I don't know how to express more than that.
So there's like this real sense of unity before that hasn't been experienced prior.
Yeah, I look at all these are very beautiful. These are all we need. We always need like that in order to in our new country. Every day, everyone thinking like that, everyone acting like that. I think our country will be very beautiful.
Right. So on this podcast platform, we've spoken to a number of Bamar activists, and we've talked about how they felt when the coup hit on February 1st and what they've been doing since, what their reaction and their feeling has been for something that for many of them was so new, was really something they'd never faced before. And going through that, you, on the other hand, and your community, you've been doing this kind of work and you've been facing off with this enemy committing these atrocities and not allowing your people in your community to rest for 60 years, not able to be safe in their own homes. We're hearing from so many Burmese now that they're not safe in their own homes, and it's the first time they've ever felt that. And there's this terror and this instability from knowing that you're never safe, and yet you and your community, you have faced that lack of safety for pretty much all your lives. So I'm curious what your feelings were when the coup broke on February 1st, when the coup started, and in the months afterwards. What was your analysis of what was happening? How were your feelings? How did you respond? How were you following it? What reaction did you have as the coup broke and then developed?
Well, at that time we were in one of the IDP hideouts, helping the IDPs when they took power from the government. So at that time I don't think much because I know the nature of the military regime. They have been doing it for many years. So even before all the starting from Wing, they're doing the same thing, only using different technique. But I don't think that would be a big demonstration will happen like that, because now that time maybe that people are not so, maybe they are blacked out, so they don't know about outside the world, because of that time they call Burma Socialist Program Party. They block out everyone. They don't, even you are very smart, you're trying to do something a little bit bigger, they right away they go and they block. So you cannot do like bigger. So that means you cannot develop and whatever you are doing. So that's why many people they thought, okay, this is maybe our destiny, this, or we need to satisfy with this and that. But this time things are changing a lot. So that time also when they took the power, so I really think that there will be a big group like the people will do uprising like that. But now I think that because people are suffering, and this young generation they have become more educated, and also they are more also access to the international community. So like they have internet access more available than before. So, and they learn more things. And also, this been many years, even before some of them were not born yet when the Burma Socialist Program Party was ruling the country. But they hear from their parents, and I'm sure. And so that now, step by step, and now they themselves suffering. So that is why studying all the young people start exploding. And also, one more thing for sure is the evil things cannot go long. Today or tomorrow they will happen. So because the same day, the truth also can never be hidden. Because one time I was telling the ranger during the after we teach them, so we do the kind of small small test. So we said, okay, during the test, you have only one meal to eat, no other things. So when they come here, so I was in a swimming spot, so they have to come and they have to swim. So they swim. So when they swim, because many of them are also afraid of water. So when they're afraid, they don't think of anything. And then as soon as we kind of pressure to jump into the water, and then suddenly many things are floating in the water. Birdie or snakes, and all these are floating. So then they don't even realize, because really focus on not to drown in the water. They don't even see all these things are floating in the water. Then I thought, you see, you never hide the truth. So the same thing in Burma, they've been doing bad things for many years, and then God will not allow them to do. And now I believe God led touching all the people, and so to stand up against this the military, the successive military regimes.
So what do you think it will take to win?
Yeah, so the people will win because the people are the first. I don't know all of them that believe in God, but for sure, God also righteousness. So God will stand with them against the military dictatorship.
Right. So in terms of your faith and your spiritual belief, it's this power of prayer and your belief in God, and from a diverse people of different kinds of faiths and practices. People are other guests we've spoken to have shared how their own religious faith has been a resource for them to draw upon. Looking at practically speaking, and with the training you're doing, the alliances you're making, the strategy, what do you think it's going to take practically for the people to win at this point?
The training is because we said that you have to follow God, and you have to love, because love can overcome everyone. Even bad guys, they also maybe small tiny thing, they still have the good thing, I think, inside their heart. So that when we show them love, then some of them will become changed to good. So some of them will be also stay stubborn and do not change. Then this in the end, this is up to them, between them and God. So when our side first, we have to show them God loves, and also our mercy. And then when they don't listen, then when we have to do. So first I told them, when you feel your enemies, so you show them love. Okay, please don't stop doing all bad like that. You tell them 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, they don't listen. Then you pray, and then feel like you shoot them, and shoot if you have gun. Or you fight, then you fight. So this is we believe, because this is power of love. So everyone we try to teach them, aside from all this skill, but the most important thing is that to have the love. I mean, you love comes from God, and with God we can win all this fight easily. So, but we still need to work on law and plan very well, and practice a lot, and then go and do.
So you mentioned how when you found religious faith, you were able to let go of the hatred you had for just the Bamar people, for the pain that was inflicted upon you. But there's definitely a difference between the Bamar people and the Bamar military and the actual soldiers, the Burmese people, the Burmese military that are physically causing harm to your community. So I'm going to ask you a hard question. How has it been to try to develop love for actual members of the Burmese military, for actual individuals who are causing harm to those very communities that you're in touch with?
Yeah, there are several ways you can right away. You can also do many ways. So through one of the ways, so sometimes we see the Burmese defectors who come to the here, the different ethnic groups. So you can, that one way. Other way also, you can show them on through the internet. You can say that, okay, we forgive you. You stop doing all this, did this. Also, too many people would go back, so they can also tell their friends from friends. They can also tell maybe one of their relatives or sons or daughters. So because we are human, so I think our heart cannot be hard. Our heart cannot be hard for a long time. Sometimes maybe our heart is very, very hard like rock. But one day, especially when we are very weak, that moment our heart becomes so, stop. See, one day you are very, very strong, but today you are sick, so you cannot do the thing you usually do. Today, your face is very different from yesterday. So the Burma is the same thing. Now they are facing many casualties inside, and their wives, their sons, daughters also crying a lot because their fathers, their sons, the brothers are being killed in the many different ethnic areas. So the same time also we need to also send a message to those. Okay, just tell your husband or your sons or your brothers to stop doing all these things, and you will be forgiven. But difficult because talking about forgiveness here also difficult because especially those who are, especially their relatives or sister, brothers or mother got killed. But these are one of the way to have the long-lasting solution for our country.
So do you actually have communication or a relationship with your enemy? Do you actually engage in discussions with members of the Tamada?
Not directly like that, but through the messenger, or you can write like that. Mainly not through the messenger, because they also, many of members also, they are propaganda groups. They also doing many wrong information. So you can also tell them, even when they do bad things, you don't do bad things, but you can also send to them. So if you send many, maybe a few of them or one of them can listen.
And have you had that experience before? Have you had the experience of talking to an active duty Burmese soldier and trying to convince him to not engage in battle, about the power of love, about the power of unity and forgiveness? And have you been able to have success with those kind of conversations with even a single soldier?
No, not like that. Only before the defectors, only defectors. But no, that time I was not talking very detailed like that. So, but I tell them, okay, now we are all together. You come here, you join with us, so we are happy. But I said, don't go back to the army again. So you can stay here, or you can go wherever you want, but don't go back to the army.
So have defectors come to your camp?
Yeah, one guy is a little bit, I don't know, 10 years ago. Senator, I think his name was. Yeah, he said he was in the Burma Army and he do many bad things. So I don't know how he escaped from the Burma Army. And then later he was sent to here because he came to we call K3 area. K3 and the K3 leaders. So send him to here our ranger training camp. So then he got baptized here. So now later we told them, okay, these are the problems. Yeah, now he realized he was doing many bad things. Then we told them about Jesus, and we said, okay, don't go back. Don't go back to the army. If you don't want to stay here, you can go other places, but not back to the army. There are like some people like that, but some of the long time, not recently. So. Long time ago. So this guy also maybe like 10 years ago, and some other guys also long time ago, 15 years ago. So when we just use the opportunity or telling them, okay, this is the Burma is very bad, Now you don't we don't need to tell you. You already telling us, because they were explaining even how they were treated by their own officer. For instance, they said, okay, their salary was at that time maybe 10,000 ja. So they never received fully. So every money they receive, let's say maybe half of their salary. And all they were told is, okay, you need to pay for this fee, that fee, many fees. So end up with that, they only receive half of the salary. So this is one of the few things, a small thing that even among the army, they were all officers abused them. So later they cannot take all this. They decided to run away from the army and come to Karen or Karenni or Shan army.
Right. So you referenced that recently you've started to make contact with many young Burmese who have fled their life in the cities and come to some of your camps for training. And I'm wondering, what are you teaching them in these courses, and how are they doing? Because you mentioned they're very innocent. That's one word for it, definitely. They're also, these are people that were probably living in the city that had not really faced any kind of real danger or combat, probably for most of their lives, that this whole experience is completely new for them, and suddenly they're in this training course with you very far from their home in a different culture, sometimes with having to put up with difficult conditions and learn entirely new skills on what I imagine is a pretty rigorous course, and have to use those skills to then go back and face a ferocious enemy. And these people are coming from a background of city life and of school or job or family or whatever they have. So what has been your experience in what you've been teaching them and how they've been responding to these trainings?
Yes, first I want to say, when I start meeting them in March. So after every time the training finished, I'll be kind of like, I want to teach them more and more. So that is with we call CDM groups. So because before the Free Burma Ranger training is different. So, and this group only the 3 weeks. So because we don't have the time, we cannot divide ourselves for many places. So many places we went and we taught only 3 days, and then we still have to maintain our main training site. And then one spot is like 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, we teach them mainly about God and how to love and how to forgive. So the main things. And then every morning, every evening, we have PT, because they need to be strong to try to do all this difficult job. Then we teach them how to use the phone safely, because now things are now very different compared to like 15 years ago. Everywhere, everybody using the phone, so they can send message, they can set up their network, so among their friends. So we taught them how to use the phone, the smartphone safely, and then the first aid, for basics, first aid, like if bleeding, if someone wounded and bleeding, how to stop the bleeding using the tourniquet, and then how to transport the wounded patients from the battlefield to the safe place, and how to do them. So there's many ways of carrying the patients and then stop the bleeding. And then the leadership, leadership skill, and then swimming, rappelling, hand-to-hand self-defense. So even they don't have all they want, they come here, give me weapons, give me arms, give me guns. Sorry, we told us, sorry, we don't have, but we give you all we have. So we give them all these skills. And then they can use all these, if even no, without guns, they can still use. And the most important thing is that with everything you do, pray first, and then think, and then the act. So, and then you will see. So don't get caught, because they're all lovely in my face and all our instructor faces. So we don't want to see them being arrested or, tortured or killed or put in prison. So there's many people. So I just cannot describe, because last 2 months I met with about altogether maybe over 400 different groups. Wow. So in like one sport is almost 200, another sport is 200. So, and then one sport is like 50 people. And now here we have 51. So, but here this time more Korean people. There are still a few Burmans from cities.
All right. So it's my understanding that you're going to be taking off on a mission soon. And before you go, we're so lucky to have Dave Eubank sitting by you and having heard this interview. And it's just been so lovely to hear all that you've been sharing. And regarding the question that I asked about some of the defectors that have been coming from the Burmese army into your camps, he indicated that he had some stories that he wanted to share with us. So Dave, thanks so much for joining us here at the end of the interview. And please go ahead with some of these anecdotes you were going to tell.
Hey, thank you so much. And thank you, dear listeners. This is Dave Eubank of the Free Burma Rangers. And you've been listening to Doh Say. That means big silver. And he raised our kids, our 3 kids since they're very small, has risked his life numerous times to protect them in every kind of situation. Active war, all the way down to being drugged by horses, whatever it took. He broke his hand and his fingers trying to disengage my son's leg as he was being drugged as a 4-year-old under a horse on the middle of a mission. An amazing guy, and helps my wife run the kids programs. So you were asking him about Burmese soldiers, and we don't have that many, but we've treated a few Burmese soldiers in the front line once they were wounded and captured. And I remembered once on a mission in Pa'an district where 2 DKBA, that was the Democratic Korean Buddhist Army, these are proxies of the Burma Army, were setting up, trying to spy on us as we moved in a column, and we caught them. And they were terrified. They thought they could be executed by the KNLA. I said, don't be afraid. Come with us, and you'll see what we do. And we brought them along, and we said, if you try to escape, you're going to be dead. If you don't try to escape, we'll treat you fine. Because if you escape, you're going to tell the Burma Army where you are, and we're going to get slaughtered. So they went along with us, and I asked the KNLA, I said, untie them. I think they're going to run. I'll take responsibility. And they walked with me for 3 days. And at the first day, they got to watch a kids program. And then we did dentistry in the jungle, and they said, we have need of fillings. Can you do that? And one of my team members is a dentist, and he drilled and filled there in the jungle. And they smiled and they said, can we stay with you? So for the next 3 days, they stayed with us. And then we released them once we turned away from that area and started climbing over the next mountain range. And I thought, what are they going to tell the Burma Army? That they're helping people? I'm not worried. Well, the Burma Army came after us because they probably told them where we were at. But I knew they didn't hate us, and we got away easily. And I remember in this camp, Doh Say talked about Sane too, who was a Burmese soldier who admitted to atrocities, killing a pregnant woman once, he said. And he said, I dared not tell anyone here that. And finally, though, listening to words about God's love and his forgiveness, I just couldn't hold it in my heart, and I confessed it, and the people here didn't kill me. Now I want to be a follower of Jesus because I feel his love and forgiveness. So we baptized him right here. And you should see the smile on this guy's face, different person. And before that, or actually not almost the same time, but back in Thailand, this was in Burma, those 2 stories, but back in Thailand once, I was with the KNU, Korean National Union, and we're having a meeting. I didn't know they were in the middle of another secret meeting, and we were at a place on the border that I accidentally gone to because I'm close to the KNU, and I know the place, but I didn't plan to go that day. And right when I was there, I see this delegation walking in, and they're Burmese soldiers, Burmans. was like, wow. And it was a secret meeting I'd stumbled into, like Mr. Bean. And there was General Ang Min. I looked at him and he looked at me. I was wearing my Free Burma Ranger t-shirt. And he goes, David Eubank, Free Burma Rangers. He said in English. I said, General Ang Min. And I said, you know, if we'd met each other 24 hours ago in the jungle, maybe we'll both be dead. But look, we've met and God has given us a new chance. And my kids were with me. He goes, oh, I've heard of your children who grew up in the jungle. And he said, I want to meet your wife who educated them. And she was right there. And he said, maybe one day you can come to Rangoon. I said, we'd love that. And he said, would you dare to train Burmese soldier teams? I said, yeah, we'll train anybody to help people and get the news out for love. But if you attack the ethnics or anyone, we'll stand with the people that are under attack. So I have to consider that too. But we're not on the ethnic side against the Burman side. We're on the side of love and truth. And I love what Alexander Solzhenitsyn said. He said the line of good and evil is not between peoples, nations, tribes, races. It's in the middle of every human heart. And also he went on to say something I believe is true. In the most vile, evil person's a shred of love, a shred of hope. They love maybe their mom, their dog, something. There's always a shred of hope and possibility. In the most wonderful person, there's a shred of evil and certainly potential evil. So none of us are perfect. We're all together. And we have to choose, in my opinion, to be part of God's kingdom of love and light or part of Satan's kingdom of evil. You get the two choices, good or evil. When you choose good, doesn't mean you're always good. I remember one Karen leader told me, a journalist was asking him, what about the Free Burma Rangers? What do you think of them? And the Karen leader said, when they follow God, they're good. When they don't, they're bad. And I would say that's true of me. So back to General Ang Min. So we're talking about this back and forth. And I said, General Ang Min, can we pray? He said, sure. And he's a Buddhist. I'm a Christian. And I held his hand and I began to pray. And I felt this warmth from his hand to mine. And I said, Lord Jesus, thank you for this opportunity to be friends and be new friends. Please show us a new way in Jesus' name. And he smiled and I smiled and we hugged each other. I took a photo with him and my family and he's a friend to this day. I still communicate with him. Now he's been retired or forced to retire. I'm not sure the right words for it. So he's not in this regime right now, but I love him. And so those are only a couple of the opportunities we had to meet our enemies. And I remember once when, this is back in American history, when Abraham Lincoln wanted to invite a political adversary over. And his staff said, sir, that's an enemy you're inviting for dinner. And he said, well, wouldn't you want that enemy to become a friend? And so something else in the context of the situation here, too, we talk about the NUG, the National Unity Government, and the ethnic armed groups, and the CRPH, and all these different groups. And usually you can find something that you don't like about one of them and disagree back and forth. But I love what Winston Churchill said. The only thing worse than allies are enemies. So we have opportunities to be allies with everyone and find what we can agree on. And with our enemies, to pray for them, to find every chance we can to extend love and forgiveness. As Doh Say said, sometimes you're going to have to fight because people won't listen. ISIS wouldn't listen. Many groups, many Burma soldiers won't listen. But you go into it with an open heart saying, please listen. And also always remembering a bullet can stop a human heart. And sometimes we'll need to, but it never changes the human heart. The only thing that changes our heart for good is love. And so that's what I pray for. So thank you for this opportunity to share. And back to Doh Say. And I'm sorry, we're getting ready to walk out. Just actually a very short little mission we're going on, a coordination mission. We'll be back in a couple of days.
So, Doh Say, thank you so much for joining us, and your perspective and your experience here has just been so valuable to share to our listener base. This interview will be listened to, as I mentioned before, by many Bamar in the country as well as by many foreigners around the world. And so before we close, I just want to ask you if there's anything else you want to use this platform for, if there's any other message that you want to get out about your opinion, your perspective, your background to be able to share to our audience base. Yes.
I want to say, based on my belief and also seeing from many people, they believe. So First, try to have God, because now our country or in all around the world, there's many problems. Because first, because many leaders do not have God. When you don't have God, you don't have love. Because in our country, in many leaders, they prioritize God and then they have love, and our country will become very beautiful. The same thing, not only Burma, many countries around the world. So these are very important. If we have this, God, love, and forgive each other, and then we will be all set.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I know we're wrapping up this interview. You're just literally minutes away from stepping back into the jungle for a mission of a few days, and we're talking right until the very end of when your mission is starting. Can you tell us anything about what you're doing, not to expose any kind of risk or share anything that shouldn't be shared, but in any general terms, can you share what you're going to be doing the next few days?
After this training, we were told all these trainees to the front line, like to do their practical mission.
I see. Well, thank you. Well, I understand you have to get going now, so thank you so much for your time, and please be safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview, and God bless you. Our friend come from the places. He brought two big pieces of the 120 millimeter shells. So this village under shell because in the area there's a Burma army camps around the area. So every time they hear something, they share. So even before at least shooting with their rifles, now this is the first time I heard they share with the big shell, 120 millimeters. So we bring all these the students to that area, and then they will do the program for the kids and as well as all the parents and villages around there. So after that, then 1 week, maybe two programs there. Then after that, they can go back to their original respective area. That will take like walking maybe 2 more days from that area.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. I understand that this is an enormously difficult time for many people these days, myself included, and just the mere fact of staying informed is helping to keep a focus on this pertinent issue. And the only way that we can do our job of continuing to provide this content at this very critical time is through the support of generous donors, listeners like yourselves. So if you found this episode of value and would like to see more shows like this on the current crisis, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Either monthly pledges or one-time donations are fully appreciated, and all funds go immediately into the production of more episodes like this one. Thank you deeply in advance, and best wishes at this time. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are resisting the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Every cent goes immediately and directly to funding those local communities who need it most. Donations go to support such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, and the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies. Or if you prefer, you can earmark your donation to go directly to the guest you just heard on today's show. In order to facilitate this donation work, we have registered a new nonprofit called Better Burma for this express purpose. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is now directed to this fund. Alternatively, you can visit our new Better Burma website, which is betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit cards. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to those respective accounts, or email us at info@betterburma.org. In all cases, that's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA BURMA. If you would like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you so much for your kind consideration. You've been listening to the Insight Myanmar podcast. We'd appreciate it very much if you could rate, review, and/or share this podcast. Every little bit of feedback helps. You can also subscribe to the Insight Myanmar podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. If you can't find our feed on your podcast player, please just let us know and we'll ensure it can be offered there in the future. Also, make sure to check out our website for a list of our complete episodes, including additional text, videos, and other information available at insightmyanmar.org. And I also invite you to take a look at our new nonprofit organization at betterburma.org. There was certainly a lot to talk about in this episode, and we'd like to encourage listeners to keep the discussion going. Make a post, request specific questions, and join in on discussions currently going on the Insight Myanmar podcast Facebook group. You're also most welcome to follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts by the same name. If you're not on social media, feel free to message us directly at info@insightmyanmar.org. Or if you'd like to start up a discussion group on another platform, let us know and we can share that forum here. Finally, we're open to suggestions about guests or topics for future episodes. So if you have someone or something in mind, please do be in touch. We would like to take this time to thank everyone who made this podcast possible. Currently, our team consists of 2 sound engineers, Mike Bink and Martin Combs. There's of course Zach Hessler, content collaborator and part-time co-host. Ken Pransky helps with editing, and a special Mongolian volunteer who is asked to remain anonymous does our social media templates. In light of the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, a number of volunteers have stepped in to lend a hand as well. And so we'd like to take this time to appreciate their effort in our time of need. And we're always on the lookout for more volunteers during this critical time, so if you'd like to contribute, definitely let us know. We'd also like to thank everyone who has assisted us in arranging for the guests we've interviewed so far. And of course, we send a big thank you to the guests themselves for agreeing to come on and share such personal, powerful stories. Finally, we're immensely grateful for the donors who made this entire thing possible. We want to remind our listeners that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and don't necessarily reflect the host or other podcast contributors. Please also note that as we are mainly a volunteer team, we do not have the capacity to fact-check our guest interviews. By virtue of being invited on our show, there's a trust that they will be truthful and not misrepresent themselves or others. If you have any concerns about the statements made on this or other shows, please contact us. This recording is the exclusive right of Insight Myanmar podcast and may not be used without the expressed written permission of the podcast owner, which includes video, audio, written transcripts, or excerpts of any episodes. Also not meant to be used for commercial purposes. On the other hand, we're very open to collaboration, so if you have a particular idea in mind for sharing any of our podcasts or podcast-related information, please feel free to contact us with your proposal. If you would like to support our mission, we welcome your contribution. During this time of crisis, all donations now go towards supporting the protest movement in Myanmar through our new nonprofit, Better Burma. You may give by searching Better Burma on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, GoFundMe, and Patreon, as well as via credit card at betterburma.org/donation. You can also give right on our Insight Myanmar website, as all donations given there are directed towards the same fund. And with that, we're off to work on the next show, so see you next episode.
လိုက်ငယ်ချင်းရင်ထဲမှာမဲလဲမတရားကိုချစ်တယ်ဆိုတာငါတို့သိတယ်စောက်တော်နဲ့ငယ်ချင်းကြောင်လွယ်ရဲမင်းဖြစ်ကြောင်နေရင်ငါတို့အခါကသိရလိမ့်မယ်သူတို့ထုတ်တာမတရားတဲ့ဥပဒေငါတို့လိုက်နာစရာမလိုဘူးလေအာဓမတရားနဲ့ချက်ကိုင်မှုကိုငါတို့ညှဉ်းဆန်ရင်ငါတို့ဟာဒီသူရဲ့သွေးကိုတင်ချပေးဖို့အာနာယူလို့ကြောင့်လို့ဆွေးဖို့မဟုတ်ဘူးငါတို့ဟာတိုင်းပြည်တည်ဆောက်ကြဖို့စစ်ဘလူးလို့ချုပ်ထားခိုင်းနေအောင်လို့မဟုတ်ဘူးငါတို့အားလုံးရဲ့နေစားငါတို့အားလုံးကဒီသူဝင်နေဒီမျိုးဆိုတဲ့ငယ်ချင်းငါတို့တွေခွဲလွဲလို့ဒီအာနာရှင်တာအချိန်ချင်းဆွဲခဲ့ပြီ Oh yeah yeah ဆိုတဲ့ငယ်ချင်းငါတို့အားလုံးဟာတိုင်းပြည်ရဲ့ကောင်းစင်ပန်းမှာသူတို့ထုတ်တာမတရားတဲ့ဥပဒေဒီစံဘောကတော့ဝိတရားလေအာဓမတရားရဲ့ချုပ်ကိုင်မှုကိုငါတို့စန့်ကျင်ငါတို့ဟာဒီသူကိုကူစားပေးဖို့အာနာယူလို့ဝေလာကူစားဖို့မဟုတ်ဘူးငါတို့ဟာဒီသူကိုပြန်စားပေးနိုင်ဖို့စစ်ဘလူးလို့ဝါဒမိုင်းတိုက်ဖို့မဟုတ်ဘူးငါတို့အားလုံးရှိကိုနဲ့ငါတို့အားလုံးကကြောက်နေတာလားတကယ်ချင်းငါနဲ့မကြောက်တဲ့ဘက်ကိုလိုက်ခဲ့လမ်းပြောင်းနေတာလားတကယ်ချင်းမှန်တဲ့အရက်ကိုဥတီလျှောက်ခဲ့ခုတီတစ်ခေါက်လဲငါတို့တွေ့အေးသွားလို့လုံးအောင်ဖြစ်တွေ့ကြဆက်မ88ငါတို့နိုင်မှာ21အတန်လည်းတိတ်လမ်းလည်းလိတ်လည်းတိစပင်းကအန်လည်းချိတ်မင်းစုံမင်းညပရင်တက်ဖြစ်ရင်ပိုကနေဆိုတော့ကမှန်စိတ်ကြည်စံနေမိကိုငွေတွေနဲ့နှစိုးတွေဝိုင်းပြီးရက်ပြီးလဲဒီຫນွေဦးတော်လန်ရေးပါပေးရပြအန်ကိုချိန်နေစေဘယ်ချိန်ကြီးလဲမင်းမမင်းနေငါတို့အားလုံးမှန်တိုင်းတူတူမရမချေသူတွေပေါ်မလဲမင်းမမင်းနဲ့ငါတို့အားလုံးတရားမချမင်းနဲ့တူတိုင်းလေးငါတို့ဟာဒီသူရဲ့သွေးကိုတင်ချပေးဖို့အာနာယူလို့ချအောင်တော့စေဖို့မဟုတ်ဘူးငါတို့ဟာတိုင်းပြည်တည်ဆောက်ကြဖို့စစ်ဘလူးလို့ချုပ်တောင်ခိုင်းနေအောင်လို့ဖို့မဟုတ်ဘူး